Yo guys, what's up and welcome back to Olympus. Welcome to Olympus if you're new around here. In today's video we'll be carrying on our role model review, and today we're going to be tackling one of cinema's most famous people who happened to skip school. He lied to his parents and he happened to steal a Ferrari, and a rather nice Ferrari if I do say so myself. And as I said, he somehow became one of cinema's most beloved characters in its history. Ferris Bueller. He is charming, he is magnetic, and he is endlessly quotable. But is he actually somebody worth looking up to? Today we're putting him underneath the microscope. We have 5 reasons why Ferris Bueller is a genuinely quite good role model for people, and 5 reasons why he absolutely isn't, just for the sake of fairness. And by the end, you're going to have to ask yourself, which version of Ferris have you been living? Welcome to Olympus. So we'll begin by looking at the ways that Ferris Bueller is a good role model and worth trying to be more like. So let's begin with reason number 1, which is that he refuses to sleepwalk through his life. Right from the opening scene, Ferris lays out his philosophy plainly for you. Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. That's not just a great line, it's a genuinely really good philosophy. Most people do drift through their days on autopilot, doing what's expected of them, waiting for something to happen to them, rather than going and making something for themselves. Ferris actively chooses to be present. He engineers moments of joy. He doesn't wait for permission to live, and that kind of intentionality is something most adults never manage to develop, let alone a 17-year-old. Reason number 2 is that he understands the power that comes from having confidence. Ferris walks into every room like he owns it, and because of that, people treat him like he does. He books a table at a 5-star restaurant under a fake name, gets a parade float to stop for him, and convinces the entire city to dance and sing along with him. None of that works without having genuine self-belief. Now, you can argue that confidence is arrogance in disguise, and we'll get there, don't you worry, but there's a real lesson there. How you carry yourself determines how the world will respond to you. Ferris figured that out before most people have even started thinking about it. Reason number 3 is that he prioritises the people that he loves. If you were to strip away all the spectacle and look at what Ferris Bueller's Day Off is actually all about, it's about Cameron. Ferris sees his best friend who is anxious, depressed, trapped under his father's shadow, and refuses to let him rot in bed alone. He forces Cameron into life. He drags him to the Art Institute of Chicago, gets in front of a Seurat painting, until something finally cracks open inside of him. The whole film is Ferris engineering a breakthrough for somebody else. That's not really selfishness anymore, that's the kind of friendship that most people never really get. Someone who cares enough about you to push back. Reason number 4 is that he is quite emotionally intelligent. Ferris reads people instinctively. He knows how to handle Rooney. He knows how to manage Sloane, how to keep Cameron from spiralling and help him grow. He adapts his approach based on who he's dealing with. That's a very high level social skill, and it's one that genuinely serves people very well throughout their life. In a world full of people who bulldoze through conversations without ever really listening, Ferris does actually pay attention. He just uses it rather unconventionally. Reason number 5 is that he models autonomy and self-determination. There's something quietly radical about Ferris. He looks at every rule and just asks, why? Not out of nihilism, but out of genuine curiosity about whether the structure is serving any real purpose. The school, the expectations, the social performance of being a teenager. He refuses to just accept it because that's how it's always been done, and while the methods he uses might be questionable, the underlying instinct that you get to decide how to live is one of the most fulfilled people in the world have all figured out at some point. So now let's flip the script a little bit and look at why Ferris might not be worth modelling yourself on. So we'll begin with that he constantly lies and doesn't really feel any remorse for the fact that he lies. I mean, the entire day is built on deception. He fakes being ill, he fabricates dead grandmothers, he impersonates a sausage king of Chicago, and the film rewards him for all of that. He never really faces any true consequences, but in real life that pattern will erode trust. The people who build lives the way that Ferris runs his Tuesday, on charm and constructed reality, eventually finds that the house of cards will collapse. Relationships, careers, reputations, they all require a baseline of honesty that Ferris simply doesn't really operate with. Reason number 2 is that he uses people. and this is a rather uncomfortable truth about Ferris. He is magnetic, but he's also very manipulative. He gets what he wants from almost everybody that he encounters, and most of them don't even realise that it's happening. Even his friendship with Cameron, as genuine as the care underneath it is, involves Ferris repeatedly overruling Cameron's boundaries, forcing him into situations that he doesn't want to be in, and using Cameron's dad's Ferrari without his consent. The road to the Art Institute is paved with Cameron's anxiety, and Ferris barely acknowledging the cost of it. Reason number 3 is that he avoids accountability. At the end of the film, Ferris gets away with everything. Rooney ends up humiliated. Cameron takes the fall for the car, and Jeannie comes around on her own after a little chat with Charlie Sheen. Ferris, though, he's back in bed, looking pleased with himself. That's not character growth, that's a bit of a fantasy, to be honest. Real role models won't really be able to scathe through unscathed. They reckon with what they've done. Ferris never does, and if a teenager internalises the idea that wit and charm are a permanent substitute for accountability, they're going to hit a wall eventually, and they're going to hit it very hard. Reason number 4 is that his confidence sometimes tips into narcissism. There's a difference between having self-belief and self-obsession, and Ferris lives on the wrong side of that line more often than the film is willing to admit. He breaks the fourth wall constantly to tell us how great he is. He engineers an entire city's worth of attention for himself. The parade scene is quite iconic, but ask yourself, who is this actually for? It's not really for Cameron, it's not for Sloane, it's truly for Ferris. He has an audience, and he kind of needs one. The kind of ego he has needs constant feeding, and it rarely leads to the quiet, grounded confidence that actually serves people well long term. Reason number 5 is that he has no concept of consequence. Ferris is 17 and operating in a bubble where everything just kind of works out for him, and nothing really leaves a mark. That's fine for a film. It's a comedy at the end of the day, and it is kind of a fantasy. It's a John Hughes film where John Hughes is just being his brilliant self. But as a blueprint for life, it's incomplete at best and dangerous at worst. The Ferrari goes over the edge and Cameron has a breakdown. These are very serious moments, and the film just gestures at them. But Ferris floats above them. The lesson he models isn't resilience or responsibility. It's that if you're charming enough, consequences aren't really real, and consequences are real, though most of your actions will have some sort of consequence, which is whether that consequence is positive or negative. So, where does that leave us? Ferris Bueller is one of cinema's greatest characters, but he probably shouldn't be your entire blueprint for life. The best parts of him, such as the presence, the loyalty buried underneath the chaos, the refusal to sleepwalk through life, those are genuinely worth stealing and trying to adapt into your own life. But the version of Ferris that lies, manipulates, avoids accountability, and expects the world to bend around his charm, that guy doesn't really end up well outside of John Hughes' work. The real lesson of Ferris Bueller's Day Off isn't to skip school. It's that life is short and the people around you matter, and you owe it to yourself to actually show up for it. Just maybe do it without stealing a Ferrari. But that is all for this video, so what do you think? Is Ferris a good role model? Be sure to let me know down below. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and click the subscribe button if you're new around here. That is all for now, so I'd like to thank you for watching, and we'll see you later. Welcome to Olympus.